And now it's a time for our big stories of the week. It's a segment of the show when we highlight issues that our panelists know best and that our viewers may want to know more about. Starting us off is the St. Petersburg mayoral race, recently becoming significantly more competitive. Former Florida Governor Charlie Crist officially filed to run last week. He is challenging incumbent Mayor Ken Welch in a crowded field of 7 candidates in all. The primary is set for August the 18th. Colleen, this is something that you've been following closely. What is the latest information in this race?
So the latest is that Charlie Crist officially jumped in the race after teasing kind of a run for some months. He opened a new political committee last year in October, and even before entering the race, he has $1.2 million. That is far and beyond any other candidate. Mayor Ken Welch has raised a little, just right under $500,000. So, you know, if fundraising is a barometer of support, Charlie has a lot. And then if you look at cash on hand, former Governor Charlie Crist has about $1.1 million in the bank. Incumbent Mayor Ken Welch, he's still missing $207,500 from his former treasurer that was running the political committee that was supporting him. And that money's still missing, and he's got around just a little bit less than $200,000 on hand. And as you've mentioned, you know, there are other candidates in the race. They're fundraising too, but they don't have anything near what Governor Charlie Crist has.
Well, you'll continue to follow it for us. Another big story we have today takes us into Polk County. A proposal to build one of Florida's largest data centers is drawing scrutiny in rural areas there. The hyperscale facility would span more than 1,300 acres near Fort Meade at full capacity. It would consume enough energy to power hundreds of thousands of homes. Gary, what happened at the last meeting?
Well, at the last City Commission meeting, the Fort Meade City Commission approved a development agreement with the developer, a company from Maryland, to move forward with this. The company offered to pay $10 million in advance of property taxes for the city to use for various purposes, and they're also paying $300,000 to help Fort Meade secure future water supplies.
And many of the voters came out against this and spoke publicly during the meeting. This is not a done deal, correct? They still have to get more permits?
Yes, well, the Southwest Florida Water Management District requires a separate water use permit for data centers. That's a rule they created a few months ago. And of course, any big project like this requires permitting from various state and federal agencies as well. And I should add that the day after this vote in Fort Meade, the Florida Commerce Secretary sent a pretty strongly worded letter to the mayor of Fort Meade criticizing the approval process. So it'll be interesting to see if the state tries to take any other steps to make it harder for this project to go forward.
Lakeland Ledger will certainly continue to watch it for us. Nicholas, what would you say is on the ACLU docket that's most interesting that voters should know about?
Yeah, well, we just got a pretty important ruling from the Federal Court of Appeals in Atlanta this week in an immigration case, an issue around the country that courts have been facing. The Trump administration last year changed decades of practice in deciding that immigrants pending their immigration cases had to be detained and be in jail while their court case played out. Dozens of judges around the country said that's illegal, that's not what the law says. These folks are entitled to a determination of bond, essentially. And that's what the Court of Appeals agreed with and ruled with us in a case that the ACLU brought last week.
So the folks who are currently detained, will they be automatically released, or what does that logistically look like?
Right, so they'll be entitled to petition for a bond hearing just like anyone else, and if they're not at risk, they can return to their families, their communities, their jobs, pay taxes, and while they wait for their case to play out.